Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Community Services Committee of Nelson City Council. I have apologies from Councillor Noonan and Councillor Matheson. Would somebody like to move that they be accepted? Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Skinner. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. And I would like to confirm that the order of business is as set out on the agenda, and first of all, like to point out that this meeting is being recorded for live streaming to Council's YouTube channel. It's the first for Nelson City Council, and we do hope that those of you who are tuned in to this broadcast will enjoy what we have to offer this afternoon. Please remember, members of the committee and non-members, please remember to turn your microphones on and off, as the recording will only pick up what is said into a live microphone. Also note that side comments made close to a live microphone may well be recorded as well. And we need to be patient as Shaylee manages the recording during breaks, and when we go into public excluded, we'll need to turn things on and off. I'd also like to welcome this afternoon youth councillors who are with us today, Keegan and Taylor. Nice to have you here, and please feel free to participate as much as you would like. There are no other changes to any other items. I'd also like to welcome non-committee members to the meeting this afternoon. So, item number 3 on the agenda. If you have any updates to the interest register, would you please let us know what they are now, or indeed if you have any conflicts of interest on any item in the agenda, let us know now or before that item starts. We have no public forum items this afternoon under item 4 on the agenda, so we'll move on to item number 5, which is confirmation of the minutes. These are the minutes of the meeting of this committee held on the 24th of September, and the recommendation is they be confirmed as true and correct. Would somebody like to move that? Moved by Councillor Laurie and seconded by Councillor Ward. Are there any points before I move that, before I put that to the vote? Are there any points anybody wishes to bring up? Keegan.
And then under item number 12, Nelson Youth Council update, it says that I said that the Honourable Dr. Nick Smith would be attending the last Youth Council meeting of the year, but I said he may be. I'm not sure if that's.
I'm sure we could change that. That would be fine.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. Just because he didn't end up coming, so. That's
so it makes it more factually correct.
Yes.
That's good. Thank you. Any other points anybody would like to raise? Okay, I'll move then that they be accepted. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Carried. Item number 6, the status report, as set out on pages 19 through 21. Does anybody have any queries or anything they wish to discuss on page 20 of the agenda? Councillor Barker?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as indicated earlier prior to the meeting, I was wondering if you could give me an update on the position of Modless Pond on the status report. I did some investigation to this. That item actually is one for the council status report. So that's why it's not appearing on this status report. It's a matter that's been referred to full council, so we can't give you an update, but it will be something that will be reported back at the next council meeting. Thank you.
Anything on page 21? Okay, in that case then, would somebody move that the status report and its attachment be received? Laurie Ward, and I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Now, there is no chairperson's report. Subject to say, I just would like to congratulate the team who put this year's Nelson Arts Festival together, and some of them are in this room. I guess you could say I think it was an outrageous success, and it's great to see it in such good health. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the team come up with for next year. So Shanine and Chris, if you could pass those thoughts on to the team, Axel and the rest of his team, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. So we come to item number 8 on the agenda, which is the Heritage Activity Management Plan. And Shanine, you're talking to this. So before we just do that, and while Shanine gets comfortable, I'm just going to get Mr. Ward to just outline the process that we're going to go through this afternoon in terms of these activity and asset plans, and just to remind you why they're here on the agenda today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So members of the committee will recall that each of the asset and activity management plans were adopted as the version to inform the long-term plan over the past year or so, going into the long-term plan process. What we have done now is brought them back to you to reflect the decisions that have been made during the long-term plan. So with each of these asset management plans, activity management plans, there's a table to show what has changed, particularly due to decisions made during the long-term plan. This is just a point-in-time reference for these asset management plans. They are living documents and will continue to be updated as we go through, but for this particular meeting, it is the changes are only those that are being to reflect the long-term plan decisions. Thank you.
So just to add to that, so in saying that, I am very mindful of the fact that there's over 600 pages in this agenda. They're big plans, and I would like to congratulate staff for the amount of energy and effort that has gone into preparing these plans. I know that they go around a big circuit of staff to review and to peer review, so I appreciate the amount of effort that's gone into them. And the first one that we're going to consider then now is the Heritage Activity Management Plan, as set out on pages 22 to 84 in your agenda. Shanine.
Thank you, Councillor Rainey. So through the Chair, this report is to present the Heritage Activity Management Plan, and as you've already heard from Chris, it's the draft plan which has been amended to reflect the long-term plan changes, and the summary of those key changes are an attachment to at the back of the plan, and the recommendation to Council was to adopt the Activity Management Plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and Ian Littleworth is also here.
Thank you very much. So before we get into questions, I will move that the report and its attachments be received. Do I have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Copeland. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Questions of Ms. Hermson on this plan? So essentially, as you're aware, the changes that have been made have been track changed in yellow, and I'm sure you've all had a chance to go through and check some of those changes out. Councillor Copeland.
Thanks very much. I just had a question, Shanine, on page 37, the table there, levels of service, 2.1. Just in the targets, I just wanted some clarification about the review staffing costs in heritage facilities. It talks about by 2017 the cost to ratepayers per visitor is more equitable across heritage facilities, remain in line with LTP funding. Can you just explain what you mean by that?
Perhaps if I can answer that one a bit more. So in the report itself, you'll see one of the issues that was raised was around the disparity of ratepayer funding across the heritage facilities. So there's been a recommendation from previous plans that we look at a model that will spread that costing. So this year we have started that process, and then by the end of 16-17 we should have that in place. So really this is just to reflect that 15-16, you know, we're looking at how we can do that and make sure it happens, and by 16-17 that will be in place.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor McGurk, Councillor Barker.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just referring to Isle House, paragraph 5.18. The house is open to the public and was open to the public in 2003. Is the house likely? to remain open? I see it's been transferred from the trust back to the council.
Yes, it is. So we took that over from the 1st of November, so we're only a couple of days into it. We have been doing a lot of work in October to find the volunteers to open it. So that's the issue. Is there was little volunteers that were left over. Talking to Maria Anderson yesterday, we're hopeful that we can probably have it open for 4 days a week. So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we're just confirming those last volunteers, and if that's the case, we should be able to have it open within the next couple of weeks. There'll be a training process and things like that.
Thank you. Councillor Barker.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question was about the same matter, Isle House, and as a member of the society, I've had communications from a number of people who have been involved as volunteers in the past with some concerns about what's happening, and I was relieved a little to hear that we're working with the volunteers still. But my question specifically is on page 40 of our agenda and page 11 of the report. We're doing this before we have completed a strategic business plan for Isle House, have we? As listed as a project for the future on page 40 under that table.
Yes, we are. The trust decided to fold in August, so we were informed of that. So we've been working in the first instance to get the house open and available for visitors, and it's the first priority. And then from there we need to look, now that we're in a kind of a different space, as to where we take Isle House and the other heritage houses forward, and that'll form part of that strategic plan and that business plan.
So just to clarify things for me, was the change to the operation initiated by the trust or by the council?
By the trust.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Skinner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just clarification for myself and understanding and for the public. On page 43, 44, talking about earthquake with a house rating below 34%. So considered earthquake prone. This is Broad Green House and Isle House. So it's considered earthquake prone, but does not have a critical structural weakness, hence can remain open. So how's that work?
That's the advice that we've had from the engineers. Unless you're aware of how it works.
No, I don't know anything more than that. Yeah.
So we've been working with the engineering team on those particular issues. In both of those cases, the houses are quite, above 34%. It's the chimneys that bring it down, and they've been working to mitigate or start to mitigate some of those risks coming through the chimneys. I'm not sure of how the rating works, but I understand we're in a position where we're still able to have the house open.
So my assumptions, sorry, my assumption that though the chimneys are a risk or a earthquake prone, they're not of a danger. Is that how it works with the rating? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, we're clear about that. Then thank you very much. I will. Does somebody want to move the recommendation to council as set out in the agenda that the Heritage Activity Management Plan amended to reflect the long-term plan be adopted? Somebody want to move that? Moved by Councillor Copeland. Do I have a seconder from Councillor Ward? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. On to item number 9 in the agenda under Recreation and Leisure, the Parks and Reserves Asset Management Plan 2015 to 2025, as set out on page 85. Mr. Petheram.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As per Shanine's report, we've outlined the significant changes in yellow, as shown on page 2, and the updated strategies, plans, etc., general amendments on in blue.
Thank you, Mr. Petheram. Before we go into questioning, I'll ask that somebody move that the report be received. Moved by Councillor Laurie, seconded by Councillor Ward. All those in favour, please say aye. Okay, do we have questions for Mr. Petheram on this extensive plan? Councillor Barker?
Yeah, firstly, just procedural. Looking at the table of changes on pages 88 of the agenda, it's giving the AMP page numbers, but the AMP doesn't have any page numbers that I've found. Does it? Where? I found it, thank you. Yep.
Any questions of Mr. Petheram? I mean, it's an extensive document, and I think it's important to realise at this point that today's adoption is not the end of the road for this plan. It's just, as Mr. Ward has pointed out, it's a point in time, and I'm sure that there will be items that come up as we start heading into next year's planning round that may well come out of this plan, or you may well wish to review, but that remains to be seen. And obviously there are plenty of items in here that are works in progress, so to speak. So that's always important to remember. Councillor McGurk?
Yeah, I haven't read this one, but in terms of a development on the Tahununu Beach for the Surf Life Saving Club, is that included in this? Plan?
Mr. Chair, Councillor McGurk, it's recognised, but there's no funding allocated. The decision of the long-term plan was for them to come back with further requests. Okay, and so staff are working with them on that.
Yeah, and you've had no approach back from the Surf Life Club?
Yes, we've had an early indication, but nothing for some time.
Right, I'll leave it.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Petheram, I'm just looking at page 6 of the plan, page 98 of our agenda, and there's some highlight in there in blue, which are the updates around strategies and policies, and some commentary around council workshops with community plan for 2015-16 to develop policies for shared or sole use trails. Is that additional to the policy that we've already had up to council? I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, that's correct, Madam Mayor, and in fact I have a meeting later on this afternoon, and then we're following it up with more general consultation that will be in the new year.
Any further questions? Well, once again, I'd like to congratulate staff. I realise the amount of work that's gone into this. There's been a lot of reviewing going on, and that's as set out in at the beginning of the document, if you see that. So congratulations for getting this piece of work in front of us. And when I find my recommendation to council, I'll put it. Can somebody just remind me what page that's on? This is where the... Yep.
Could I ask, in relation to the shoreline management plan, which funding has been allocated for this year, can you give me a forecast of when we might expect to see something on that in front of the committee?
Mr. Chair, Councillor Barker, we're in the process of drawing the brief for the engineer, the coastal engineers at the moment. I would imagine it would be towards the end of this financial year.
You are confident it will happen within this financial year?
Oh yes, I don't have any doubt. I've had a preliminary discussion with the company involved, OSAL, and they're confident that they can produce it for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Then any further questions? In that case, I'll move that the Parks and Reserves Asset Management Plan amended to reflect the long-term plan 2015-225 be adopted. That's the recommendation to go to council. Does somebody want to second that? Seconded by Councillor Ward. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 10, the Property and Facilities Asset Management Plan as set out, page 274 to 276 in the agenda. Mr. Homan, good afternoon. First of all, I'll move that the report and its attachments be received. Do I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Ward. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Mr. Homan, do you want to speak to your report?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and councillors. The report before you is the first Property and Facilities Asset Management Plan completed by Nelson City Council. It was adopted on the 20th of November by Council for inclusion in the long-term plan, and the report before you, attachment 1, highlights the changes that came through the long-term plan process. So yes, I now are available to answer questions around those changes.
Thank you very much. Questions of Mr. Homan? Give councillors a second to have a little look through. Okay, then in that case, unless somebody's got something that's coming to mind immediately, I'll move that the Property and Facilities Asset Management Plan amended to reflect the long-term plan 2015-2025 be adopted. That's a recommendation to go to council, seconded by Councillor Skinner. Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Well done. Thank you very much. Just like to remind people viewing this afternoon that all community services meetings go this fast. Hope they haven't gone away, or hope that one person hasn't gone away for a cup of tea. Okay, so we're going on now to the next item on the agenda, which is the Community Partnerships Activity Management Plan, and this is on page 277. Shanine, welcome back. I'll move that the report, before you do, I'll move the recommendation that the report, Community Partnerships Activity Management Plan and its attachments be received. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Copeland. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Shanine.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, this is to present the Community Partnerships AMP, and it's been updated to reflect the long-term plan decisions. The key changes are in attachment 2, and the main changes are around the decision to change the community assistance funding. So the changes are highlighted in yellow, and the recommendation to council is to adopt the AMP. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Questions from Councillor Ward?
Yes.
$920,000. So it's a very narrow view of what our partnerships are in the council, really, isn't it? I mean, I would imagine that if we consider the SUTA and a whole bunch of other activities, they'd be worth a great deal more than $920,000. So this is much narrower.
Just through the chair, so that figure there is just looking at what's in this activity management plan. The School of Music and the likes of those are under other plans. So it's not captured in this report.
It's a fair point though, and it's perhaps something to consider, you know, the crossover between plans is, you know, how do they reference each other? I think that's really what you're trying to say, Councillor Ward. And if there's no commentary along those lines, perhaps it's something that we could consider in the future, is how do we reference those crossovers between plans? Because it's certainly something that the community may well wish to understand, even though you're taking a relatively pure approach. Okay. Any further questions of Ms. Hermanson? Councillor Copeland?
Thanks very much. I'm just noticing on page 288 under City Safety, it's great that we're continuing the Street Ambassadors Initiative. Have there been major changes to that initiative in the last year since this has been updated, or in the last couple of years?
Through the chair, to answer your question, Councillor Copeland, the Street Ambassador Service, we have made some minor changes, just working in with police to make sure that the time frames are correct. It starts middle of November and goes through to the end of March, I believe. So other than that, it's relatively similar to previous years.
That's fantastic. Subsequent question, if I may, was I was aware that there was some change in fund availability from the Ministry of Justice at a certain stage, and we managed to overcome the shortfall, or is there anything interesting to report in that area?
Through the chair, so the Street Ambassador Service Council always contributed towards, so we have lost the funding from Ministry of Justice, as you refer to, and that's why that's no longer in the activity management plan. Mm-hmm. So the budget that council puts towards it is still the same.
Subsequent question?
Yeah, subsequent question. So if we've lost the funding from the Ministry of Justice, have we increased council's share of that funding, or have we found another co-funder?
No, we haven't got any other external funding in it, so it's just council's contribution at this point.
Any further questions, Councillor Barker? And the Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a question, not specifically about the plan itself, but in the plan where we say we have the 17 CCTV cameras, and we recently put one in the Victory area, it would be nice at some stage to get feedback about how successful that in particular that camera has been, and has it resulted in any improvement in activity and improvement of the culture down there, or has it had no effect at all? Just some feedback would be very much appreciated.
I was under the impression that that was actually reported. There was a crime that was captured on the camera. Well, it was certainly reported in the mail. Whether it's been reported back to council is another matter. So perhaps that's who would do that reporting back, Shanine? Would it be the police or?
Through the chair, staff would be happy to pull together some information. We could perhaps put it in a councillor's newsletter or status report.
Yeah, well, we can certainly consider how it would come back to us. But at this stage, I can't recall having any feedback back on an official level from that service. So it would be something that would be great to see. Councillor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can give you some feedback. I'm down in that corner of the world every day, and I take a particular interest in picking up litter in the area that's covered by the CCTV camera. And I can tell the committee that there's been a substantial reduction in litter, broken bottles, cans. There's also been a significant reduction in vandalism in the area since the camera went up. I've also spoken to a lot of people who frequent that spot, and they tell me they feel a lot happier down there too. And I've had positive feedback from businesses as well.
Thank you, Councillor Laurie. Okay, any further questions? Oh, sorry, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Shanine, I probably should have asked this question a little earlier, and I may have my maths wrong, but if we go to page 285, it might just be the way this is expressed. There's commentary on the demographic trends, and so we've got some numbers in there. Look at where it says we're expected to grow by around 3,600 people to almost 53,320 by 2025. If I go back to, so just consistency between documents, and it may be the way it's expressed, on page 116 of the agenda, so sorry, Mr. Chair, to jump back to a previous plan, that's one of the other plans. It reads, Nelson's population was estimated to be 48,700 at June 13, so we're different time frames, and expected to grow by 3,580 people between 2015 and 2025. So I'm taking it that by 2025, in my plan on page 116, we'll have 52,280 people, if I've added up correctly. But on this one, it looks as though we've got 53,320. And it probably just needs someone to have a look to see whether there's an inconsistency between the plans. I don't think it's material, but just in terms of how we're expressing growth projections. It's not a huge difference, but if you were one of those few hundred people, you'd probably want to be recorded. Thank you.
Do you want to comment? Not much to say, really. Yeah, okay. No, that's fine. Any further questions? Okay, then in that case, I will, does somebody want to move the recommendation to council that the Community Partnerships Activity Management Plan 215-225 amended to reflect the long-term plan 215-225 be adopted? Moved by Councillor Ward and seconded by Councillor Skinner. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Next item on the agenda is a report from the Nelson Youth Council. An update. Keegan and Taylor, do you want to give us an update?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My first item is about the active transport policy that's been going through council. So yesterday I met with Reece Palmer, the Senior Asset Engineer, Transport and Roading, to give him some feedback on the active transport and active recreation work he's been doing. I attended both of the workshops, and so I was pleased to see that there was a good outcome in terms of the policy, and so I was giving him some feedback on the plans that he's drawing up in terms of the routes and things like that for bike tracks. And one thing that was of particular interest to youth is the development of a route through Te Hunanui and whereabouts it's going to go, because I feel that it's quite important that young people who live in town are able to be connected to recreational activities in Te Huna, and young people living in Te Huna are able to be connected to jobs in town. So I think that it's really important that we get that track right. So that's what I was talking to him about yesterday. As well as that, I had a meeting with the Youth Health Alliance, which is a group of youth health professionals, and the purpose of the meeting was to determine how they could improve their youth health services in Nelson. So we had a discussion about how they could get feedback from young people, because they've been finding it really hard to understand what young people want and need, and it was determined that a subgroup would be formed to figure out how to get a bit more access to young people. And at that subgroup meeting, we decided that Nelson Youth Council's involvement would be to survey secondary school students around youth health in Nelson. Mass Parade, the Youth Council was involved in the Mass Parade. We helped festival staff set things up, and we were involved in supervising the youth zone. And we had a discussion about it at our last meeting, and it was a success in our eyes. The youth zone worked really well, and there was a lack of significant events involving youth and alcohol and that sort of thing. So we think the night went really well. And lastly, I'd just like to thank this committee and council in general for the continued support of Youth Council. It really helps and allows us to give the Nelson Youth a voice, and I certainly don't think that I'd be where I am as a Nelson Youth MP if I hadn't have joined Youth Council, if I hadn't had that experience. So I'd just like to thank you guys for providing that, for your support. And thank you very much. I think Taylor's got some more to say.
Thanks, Keegan. Taylor.
Thank you. No, I think Keegan is absolutely right. Thank you for all your continued support. It's absolutely brilliant. So first of all, I think I'll introduce myself. I haven't actually been to a community services meeting before, so my name is Taylor Shuker. I am the Waimea College representative for the Nelson Youth Council, and I'm really happy to be here. First of all, we are getting involved in the planning and the recruitment for the Youth and Emergency Services initiative, which is designed to incorporate youth into local emergency services, and this is a very great opportunity. And secondly, the 18th of October marked the end of our Youth Council year. That was our last meeting, so we were summing everything up there. And yeah, last of all, early December, we will begin our induction, which we will begin to incorporate the new Youth Council members and pass on our knowledge and the like, which will be very exciting. Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor, and thanks for your words of thanks, I guess. Especially since we have a worldwide audience today, it's much appreciated. So of you two, are you, you're not coming back next year? You are coming back. Very good. Okay, that's good to see. That's good to see. And it has been an extremely busy year for the Youth Council, so I'd like to congratulate you. And if you could pass on to the rest of the youth councillors, and I know you will be seeing them again before the end of the year. I know that Councillor Laurie and I, as the councillor reps on the Youth Council, have enjoyed the interaction. It's been great. And a more motivated bunch of young people you'd be hard pressed to find, I would say. Councillor Ward, you have some words to say?
Thank the youth councillors for their efforts this year, and congratulations to Keegan. He's our youth MP, so he hops off to Wellington. May you enjoy it. I like to think that youth council would have played some part in your aspirations, actually.
And Keegan, I know you've been to lots of meetings, lots of council meetings this year, and I certainly hope you haven't picked up any bad habits. I'm sure you won't have. So, well done, you two. Thanks for that. And there's a recommendation there, which I'm happy to move, that the minutes of the last meeting of the Nelson Youth Council that was held on the 18th of September be received. Seconded by Councillor Laurie. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much, you two. It's at this point, actually, that we're going to move into public excluded business. So I'd like to, I'll move that we do indeed move into public excluded business. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Skinner. And before I do that, this is where we sign off to any members of the public who are watching. They can go back to Emmerdale Farm now, and we'll carry on with public excluded business. Thank you very much. I'll move that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. We'll just take a second while Shirley turns off the monitor. Right, we're off.